Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Uh, an Ignis wraith build for Steel Path was requested. So we're gonna do our build sets, starting with very basic, working up, and eventually to a Riven build. We're gonna do each of our multipliers, base damage, multi-shot, crit chance, crit damage, and from here we need to decide what to do. Um, the Ignis does have a couple of builds. What I would recommend, until you get like more complete modding, like you complete your mod set a little more, I would say just go straight viral and do a 100 munitions build. And for the final slot, as most of the stuff has been taken up, so we have base damage, crit chance, multi shot, infected clip, and cryo rounds to give us viral. And 100 munitions will give us slash procs. The final one I would honestly say is fire rate. Whatever the fastest fire rate mod you have, um, like speed trigger is good, vigilante fervor is good. Um, on this weapon, vile acceleration is still decent. And for the Exilus mod, vigilante supplies, um, obviously the primed ammo mutation, and what's the other one? Rifle ammo mutation. Rifle ammo mutation would all be acceptable. Just whatever the best one that you have is. Obviously, primed rifle ammo mutation would be ideal because of the difference in pickup amounts now. Now that the primed mod converts so much more than vigilante supplies, I would say personally that it's worthwhile slotting the primed rifle mod or the primed rifle ammo mutation over vigilante supplies. So this is a pretty basic build. Gives you viral and gives you heat and gives you slash ticks. This all boosts your damage, or viral boosts heat and slash. And let's take a look at how that performs. Even against some 190s, it will still eventually kill 190 exos. The Ignis rate has always been sort of at like a weird spot where it's always been like a quote unquote baby Tenno's first like meta weapon. You get it at MR9. It used to be a big deal to get it because it was limited to specific clans, but now not so much. Um, every clan can afford this weapon now, so no excuses. So even with a base level Ignis Wraith, it still does damage. It's got enough shred on it. Some immediate ways to increase the damage even more. If you have prime cryo rounds, obviously that goes over regular cryo rounds. If you have critical delay, I would say this would be worth it, especially if you're running vile acceleration. Um, if you want to be a little bit more efficient on the fire rate, though, to be honest, this weapon does not have an issue with it. You could put more of the vigilante set on, especially if you're using vigilante supplies. Something like this would also boost your damage a bit and recover some of the lost DPS from the reduced fire rate. Because going from vile acceleration to vigilante fervor is a decent chunk though percentage-wise it's not that big of a deal, but you would gain some damage back by getting the boosted crit tier. You can also help out this weapon a tremendous amount by doing the Vigilante Pursuit mod, where it's enemy radar, bumps you up to 15% chance. It starts to become a little more noticeable. But either way, it's a good time. Okay, let's go up to the next tier. We're not going to use Prime mods because that's a Barrow RNG thing, and if you're using the Ignis Wraith, there's a good chance you haven't gotten to like arbitrations yet. So the next one is going to be arbitrations. So we'll remove everything again. We're going to do galvanized chamber. We're going to do serration. We're going to do crit again. Put it back on. Crit chance, crit damage. We are going to do a weaker viral. 100 munitions again. And fire rate again. And this will do even more damage, even though the weapon looks weaker, because the multi-shot is going to help us out so much with the procs, and the 60/60s are going to cause us to proc more status effects. But because it's weaker, we only are really using the damage to get to 10 stacks of viral now, so we're going to be proccing way more heat. If you also, food for thought, if you are using arcanes, arcane acceleration is an absolutely wonderful thing to have on this. And not only that, but allows you to take vial acceleration off. And if you want, you could put Hellfire on here to weight the weapon into heat. And we'll see how that does. Just a little bit more damage. And this would be something that's starting to get towards Steel Path. Obviously, ranking up galvanized mods is fairly endo intensive, but is a necessary step for everybody in their Warframe, leveling experience. Again, we can see the heat procs are stacking significantly easier. 130 heat ticks, definitely a better scaling weapon now. The next thing that we could do to amp even more would be galvanized aptitude. And let's start including steel path stuff, because this is going to be how you scale the weapon even more. We'll do arcane merciless, because this weapon cannot do headshot damage, and it is basically going to be killing with statuses. We're going to do primary merciless, so we also get the reload speed. Not that the reload speed on the Ignis Wraith is too long to begin with, but just making it pop a little more. And obviously, vigilante supplies or whatever your best ammo mutation mod is. If you have the primed rifle ammo mutation, it's definitely worth it over vigilante supplies. So this would be a more complete arbitration build. And once we get a kill, we can see the damage go up even more. But we do sacrifice damage at the beginning. Yeah, now they're dying in like 2 heat ticks, with slash and heat. Way better. Alright, so let's add some synergy somewhere else. Say you've gotten to Deimos. We would incorporate the Panzer. Right? Panzer Spores, free viral, which means we are going to get rid of viral off the Ignis. And we are going to swap over to corrosive. This is going to give us multiplicative damage, where not only is our damage being boosted, but we are also dealing with the enemy's defense scaling. So this will increase our damage even more, and not only that, it will provide us with a raw damage increase, because corrosive gets a more favorable interaction with ferrite armor. So this would be further increasing our damage, and let's see how this does. And we would definitely be into steel path worthy now. It's going to be the first enemy that's the hardest to kill, and then it's gravy from then on. Yeah, our damage is now in the 10,000s. We're getting 20s. Yeah, dot damage easily in the 1,000. A nice little 38 there. Our damage has scaled up. And this would be a pretty good build so far. And this is what I would recommend. If you do not have a primed Bane, there is one more way to increase your damage. And it would be to mod for corrosive. Sorry, there we go. And this top spot would be a Bane. So we just lowered down our heat. Our corrosive's still low also. We sacrifice some status procs. But we gain a Bane. And this would allow us to do even more damage. And this would also be a build that requires a source for fire rate, because fire rate does help this weapon out so much. So this is still assuming you have the acceleration mod, or the acceleration arcane. If you do not, honestly, seriously, consider farming the plat for it. Arcane acceleration is not expensive. I think it's like 200p. 1 second, I'll check. Okay, January 3rd, Arcane Acceleration is 110p, so it's not bad. And it frees up a mod slot. It gives you the same fire rate as Vile Acceleration without the damage decrease, not that it's a whole lot. Percent-wise, even though it says 15%, it ends up being like next to nothing. But more importantly, it allows you to frees up a slot that allows you to equip Banes super easily. And it allows you the flexibility in your build to run 3 elemental mods, because generally fire rate is taking up a spot. So for this, let's see what the damage is, and this will be our full scaling. And this would 100% be steel path worthy. First one's the hardest. Yep. All of the dots are in the 20,000s. I think I saw a 38 back there. But you can see the scaling. The damage is way higher. So this would be an example of a higher scaling build. The only thing of note that I would mention um, is if you are doing, you want to use this as like a heat build, you can do it pretty easily. The only thing you would basically do is you would use like a primer like this, or you would use this with a primer, and you would just use like a heat inherit build. And you would just stack as much heat as possible on something. So let's do, I think I got one on here. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, 44k with no base damage. 117k. We'll prime it with this. 74k. You got options if you want to build like this. So that would be the build if you were trying to do like a level cap with this. You would have to source the fire rate from somewhere else, and even maybe sacrifice 100 munitions to really get the heat to pop more. But this is how you would amp the damage even more. Obviously, hyper focus on the dot that you want scaled, but it would be a more specific build. But I would honestly recommend just doing corrosive, to be honest. Just keep it simple. Corrosive heat. It's literally what I'm running on my build with some minor variation. I'm just doing the 60s to make it almost even, and the Riven helps out. But this is the build that I run, and I've done Steel Path for quite a bit of time using this. So it's all the same thing. But I hope this helped. Couple of different scalings. Base, star chart, nice little easy build. Transferring from base star chart to Steel Path, get those galvanized mods. Pay attention to Barrow with the primed faction mods and rifle ammo mutation. Even though it seems like it's a lot of endo to dump into something, the fact is when you compare the ammo mutation, because it doesn't boost the pickup on the primary ammo, it's on the secondary. This almost allows you to pick up a normal pickup of ammo. So it effectively doubles your ammo pickup, where Vigilante Supplies now is only 30. So the primed ammo mutation is significantly more effective. That being said, this weapon, if you're not running like Vile Acceleration and trying to do a survival, to be honest, you might be able to just get away without running ammo mutation at all. If it's like a quick little exterminate, nothing wrong with that. So I hope this helps. Couple of different scalings, definitely something that'll scale even higher. And it's to your taste, but it's the same concept as the other weapons. Base damage in the arcane, galvanized aptitude, galvanized chamber, crit chance, crit damage, a faction mod, and mod for an element that deals with the enemy's defensive scaling. So like this would be for Grenier, right? For like Corpus, you would obviously want to single out gas or single out toxin. But you could also go heat, to be honest, because the heat's so potent on this and it's so easy to proc. There wouldn't be anything wrong with it, but obviously you would want to do so how would we do this? We would do this, reinforce. You could even do like a magnetic gas. I've done that before. Obviously you want the toxin singled out, but Yeah, radiation toxin. However you want it. Don't do blast. Don't do blast. Um, but yeah, like a radiation toxin would be fine. A little bit of CC gives you the bypass. You could even do like toxin slash, like with a 100 munitions build. Um, so you can actually bypass the occasional armor, the occasional armored enemy. So even on this build, slash isn't a waste because there are armored corpus, not a lot. So just don't like hyper focus on amping the slash damage, right? But radiation toxin isn't bad against corpus. And you would do like either a pure gas Ignis against infested, which would be very potent, or do viral heat against the infested. So it's up to you. Food for thought. But anyway, have a blessed day, guys. I hope this helped. Take it easy, my dudes. Later.